you check the children. Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
You got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to review the brand new Blumhouse masterpiece of shit, AfrAID.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I don't understand the Blumhouse model, because it's like, we'll do 3 shitty ones and tank an entire year for our company, but Five Nights at Freddy's will save us the next year and provide 2 years worth of income for us.
Well,
because
that was like some amazing flick either, though. Let's be fair.
It wasn't an amazing flick, but it made them all the money.
Tons of it, yeah.
But this year we've gotten Night Swim, we've gotten Imaginary, and now we've gotten Just AfrAID. And
stylized with the AI and the latter A in the I, so
right. Yeah. So, as my initial speech there might indicate, I was not the biggest fan of this film. It was only an hour and 23 minutes long, including credits, which was, thankfully the case. Like, when we got to the end, I was like, wait, is that really the... Oh, it is. Oh, thank God, we're done.
Oh, that one time, too, I was like, thank you, God.
Yeah. And after watching the movie, I'm even more grateful that it wasn't longer, because outside of the 2 leads, there was not much that was strong in this film at all. I really think it's going to be forgotten and or skipped by most people. And quite frankly... I don't know, man. I don't think this is worth anyone's time, whether it's in the theater or streaming. But that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, the odd thing about this flick is that first and foremost, the director, Chris Weitz. So his resume is fairly impressive. He's got an Academy Award nomination for About a Boy, which I believe was with Hugh Grant. And then he's done, just last year, he co-wrote The Creator, which is one of my favorite flicks of the year. He's got a pretty decent resume, and he wrote and directed this. But I wanted to hate this more than I actually did, because it had a few kernels of interesting ideas, especially when stuff got ramped up. But that's the thing. Very half-baked, rushed ending that made little to no sense of any kind. Mm-hmm. I give credit to the lady from I just rewatched her in Alien Covenant, Catherine Waterston, something like that.
Yeah, Waterston, yeah.
Yeah, so her and John Cho, you can tell, actually kind of gave a crap about this, and they were doing their best with some very shoddy material. But no, this was just another, and you beat me to the punch on Imaginary and Night Swim. Although this I felt was a little more original in a few aspects, and some of the just subtext of, fear of technology and whatnot that it explored. But it's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and I'm going to put in the thumbnail that I'm also going to talk about a movie called Margot that came out just a couple of years ago. It's Margaux, and it is currently available on Paramount Plus to watch. I watched it literally the day that I watched AfrAID here, so I watched it earlier today, and it was bad for other reasons, but it was a AI house that trapped a group of kids, a group of young adults, I should say, and slowly picks them off. But the house is able to 3D print like whole other people and stuff. Like it's ridiculously over the top. And
I'm trying to remember if I saw this or not, because it's sounding very familiar.
We did a trailer reaction to it,
okay,
but I had never made time to see it, and it was just so bad. Like the house was being like, "What's up, fam? I'm so glad you're all here. No cap." And it was so fucking horrifying.
Dude, the way that this thing talked to them, too, so nonchalantly as well, I was just like, for real? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The writing in some of these is just not great. But Margot goes way over the top and stupid, and basically the house is a slasher. So it's at least got that going for it. Yeah, this is PG-13. Not much happens. Not much makes a lot of sense as to how it happens. And like you said, the ending is, again, we're not going to spoil anything, but it's completely nonsensical. It doesn't make, within the context of the story they're telling, it's like, what? it's out of nowhere. It's makes no sense. It's unsatisfying. It's like just ridiculous. And then it like has a button on it where then the movie thinks you're going to be like, oh, wow. But no, you're just like, ugh, okay. And so it's not interesting to me. It wasn't original. It wasn't particularly well executed. There was a lot of unmotivated things. Like, I feel like if this movie had actually been given a little more time to build some of the things that it was setting up, like, it could have been more interesting. And actually there is a kernel of a good idea in there, but it was so rushed and so ham-fisted a lot of the time, and it felt like the dialogue was super choppy at the beginning. Like, there was a lot of establishing relationship stuff that just got cut, and so I don't know. I feel like it suffered for that, and I don't know if, again, that's the way the script was intended or if that's just what was done in the editing bay. But yeah, I felt like it was a lot lacking in building these relationships that we are forced to watch for the remainder of the film.
Yeah, based on the runtime, it really felt to me like it was an editing bay victim, so I don't really know how much they cut or if they did weird reshoots for this bookend sort of story that doesn't really factor in at all, and, the predominance of the runtime. So I don't know, man. Once again, half-baked and interesting aspects of stuff, I mean, just children being addicted to technology and fear of AI and things like that. Like, but yet, exploring ideas when they're just not done very adeptly or very intelligently. I mean, artificial intelligence, and it's not really a very intelligent movie, unfortunately.
No,
so, yeah.
So, you want to hit the story real quick?
Yeah, man, there's not really too much to tell aside from the fact that John Cho he's kind of works in the tech industry. He has a boss, and there's a very lame joke which is made about when you reach the boss, you have to defeat the boss to leapfrog and get to the next level, whatever. But so he meets with this company that is working on this much more advanced version of like a Alexa, and you're like, what, Alexa, that bitch? That stupid line in the movie.
Like at the very beginning, like completely unearned.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so he's meeting with his boss and these two developers of this new super advanced AI technology, like, super Alexa on steroids, and one of which is David Dastmalchian.
Yeah.
A very small role. And I was like, oh, I didn't know he was in this.
Powerhouse Dave Dastmalchian, yeah.
Yeah, he's hamming it up a little bit. But so they essentially, these two tech people who are trying to just get John Cho and his boss to... I felt like they were trying to sell themselves to each other in that scene, which is really weird because they're like, we want to represent you and help you as this advertising firm, but yet the tables get turned really quickly, and it was almost like they were trying to get their business. And I guess when you peel the layers of the onion back and figure out the nature of this, what was it, Aya?
Aya, yeah.
Aya. That's where I guess the fact that they started to get a little pushy when initially they were like, oh, we're going to like bless you with our business. But so the thing goes to John Cho's home. At home is his wife, Catherine Waterston, who is very upset about being a stay-at-home mom now and having to forgo her career. They have 3 kids, one of which is about to go into college, and then there's 2 younger boys. One is like, maybe 11, 12, 13-ish, something like that, middle school. And then a much younger son who has a few medical disabilities that we find out about over the course of the stuff. And this AI initially bonds with the kids, then later on it bonds with the mother. And, of course, John Cho becomes a little suspicious, and that's about all that we can say. And, it is much more sentient than he was led to believe initially. And it's more so hijinks than actual, like, brutal stuff. With the exception of one thing in particular, which was my favorite subplot of the whole movie, which was turning the tables on kind of a predatory kid at the high school where the girl goes to. That was maybe one of my favorite things in the entire movie, was how that all played out. And so I thought that was one of the only well-written things in this entire movie. So
no, I would agree with you on that. And at least that was the more engaging of it, because there's 3 children, and like they each kind of have things that play into the plot, but to what positive effect, I can't really say, because it wasn't that much of a positive effect for me. It didn't make me care about them The middle child I really didn't care about that much at all. But the young boy I did because, you know, obviously close to Soren.
Yeah, and he's
in
cute
age.
too.
Yeah, and cute.
He had nice interactive moments with his mom, like, you know, can I play Minecraft? And it's like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah. And the stuff that he's going through is rough too. So, you know, so I did like him more than the other children, but I didn't buy into everyone. That's the thing. I think I bought into John Cho just because he's a talented actor, and I definitely bought into his wife. She was also in 2 of the Fantastic Beasts movies. But
she was rocking the little flapper haircut. I actually really like her as an actress.
I feel like she was the strongest point in this movie. Like, I bought into everything that she was bringing to the table.
There's one scene in particular where she sees a loved one on screen that I
was
felt
so
was
good.
really powerful, actually. Man.
I did too. I actually felt myself starting to get a little teared up, just like putting myself in that position and putting someone else there. You know, I was like, oh, fuck, that's the one, like, that's a really strong scene as well. So there's a couple of scenes of good writing standing out amongst the rest of the kind of mediocrity.
Yeah, which is what makes it so irritating in this movie, because there were a few good ideas in here.
Yeah. You know? Again, I feel like this really, if this had been tweaked, like if this had gotten a couple more drafts in the script phase, it could have really been made, like, again, give it a little bit more room to breathe and build the things that you need to build. Don't make it go kind of the hokey route that it seems to go towards the end. Keep it less hokey than that, but still achieve the same things, because there's actually a bit of like a Susan of Lawnmower Man in this as well, which I kind of you know, appreciated on that level. But yeah, it just, I feel like if it had been honed a little bit more, it would have been a lot stronger of a product. Personally. Yeah,
and the tone was a little bit weird too, man, because this is a pretty horny movie for whatever reason, with some of the themes explored. I was like, okay, kid searching boobs on the tablet, and the daughter.
Well, that's just a teenager, but yeah.
I know, but then even the girl Cho meets early on, who's being very flirtatious with him and almost like dangling the forbidden fruit. I was thinking of the episode.
Well, but at least all of that comes around, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking of The Simpsons where Tomer has the coworker and just like that. In any event, but yeah, there's just a few unnecessary bits, including one scene in the car early on where Cho was talking to his daughter, and he's like, guys, and she's like, well, what if I'm into girls? And it goes into this whole thing that I mean,
that
it's
actually
a good message, but I just...
No, I liked it, actually, because it's funny, because she's like, you know, what if I'm a lesbian? He's just like, that's fine. She's like, what if I'm polyamorous? He's like, all right. And she's like, what if I'm asexual? He's like, that one. Stick with that one. It's like, it's a good joke. Yeah. It's a good joke. It was. It's not meant to be a woke thing. It's played as a joke for that reason. Like, of course, the dad would want her to be asexual. Like, it's funny. Like, I like that. That's, you know, I guess spoilers for a joke in the movie.
A single one. And it's early on when he's driving her to school for the first time, you know, in the film. But yeah, so that's the thing. There were like little glimmers here and there throughout this film. I think this was at least better than Night Swim and Imaginary for me personally, as far as, you know, and the fact that it did have a few deeper themes that it tried to explore, even if it didn't do that great of a job. At least it tried to masquerade as ambitious, as opposed to those two, which were very much by the numbers and knew exactly what they were as far as quality. So
those both were much more derivative.
Yes.
This you know, the subject matter is new enough where it's not super derivative. I mean, there are aspects that are derivative, and I've already made some of those comparisons, but the AI house thing is still relatively new, you know, the whole AI trend. I actually I will say, one of the strong points for me was that they leaned into the bad AI art as like nightmare fuel. Like from the very opening, like the opening credits is like horrible AI art that's shifting and it looks weird and unnatural, and it makes you uncomfortable and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It is actually setting a cool uncomfortable tone, because it's like, oh, none of this is real. None of it's really particularly good. Like, you know, like, you know, this is what happens when AI has its way, you know. So like, it sets a mood. So I actually kind of like that. And then some of the scares were kind of crafted around the, you know, the ugliness of AI art and stuff. So I actually will give points for that.
Yeah. So things here and there, but as a whole, I mean, it's not like I went in expecting a lot, but I was not impressed with too much either. So
that's fair. Well. That's fair. Yeah. Filmmaking wise, I don't think it was particularly inventive. There wasn't any time where I was like, "Oh, that's a cool cinematographic choice."
Yeah, not a lot that stood out. Even I mean, yeah, it was very much by the numbers. I'm not sure who Weitz worked at, and Weitz has done some pretty savvy stuff. Like I liked his film The Golden Compass. But granted, he directed that. He didn't. I was about to praise the creator again, but all he did was co-write that. That was directed by Gareth Edwards. So
I actually heard not great things about that. I still haven't made it all the way through. I heard it's a little bit boring. So I don't know. We'll see.
Not for everybody. I mean, the whole lone wolf and cub sort of vibe.
I love that though.
I do too. I do too. But that's a film that borrows from a lot of different things. But I mean. Nothing that stood out from a film. It was really just back to the two. I know we touched on performances already a little bit, but it was really our two leads and Cho and Waterston that I was the most impressed with. The kids were all fine. It's interesting. The girl who does the voice of this
that was good. I liked her. She was appropriately. She was really good for the role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw her. I saw her playing a high school student last year in a film called Bottom.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, she's in Bottoms? Okay.
Yeah, she's in Bottoms. She's the love interest of one of the girls in that, which is funny because she's born in like 77, and still because she has this young look, she's still able to play a high school student.
She's played in 76, you said?
She's 77. She was born.
Wow.
I was looking at her IMDb right after I was walking out of the theater to validate my parking. I'm like, no way, because I was trying to see. I thought it was a different actress than it actually was in the film, and so I had to double check, and I was shocked. I'm like, aging gracefully, girl.
Damn. I'm only 15 minutes into Bottoms and I haven't gotten back to it. Maybe I should finish it up.
It's okay.
Okay, fair enough. Now, sound design wise, score wise, I didn't really notice the score too much. Sound design, they didn't play with it, I feel like, as much as they could have. Like, she sounded like she was coming out of a speaker a lot of times, sounded like it come out of an iPad sometimes, but there wasn't anything, the times that they messed with cool stuff is when the voice would shift slightly. Like at first she's like, "This is my voice. Would you prefer something like?" And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny." But then they never do anything with that again. Like you'd think that you would have its ability to mimic voices would have come into play a little bit more, luring people around the house or something like that. But
because it does happen once the deep fake stuff starts to really get heavier in the back half of the film. But there is, as far as music goes, a really generic, annoying kid song that pops up a few times, and yet doesn't really get that much explanation aside from being a calling card of doom, soon approaching from the AI. Because we get it at the beginning and then we get it in the third act. But nothing super memorable as far as music beyond the annoyance I found from that. So.
And again, being PG-13, there's not a whole lot to write home about effects-wise. We didn't, there's some lighting effects on the AI thing, but there's not a ton of effects to be had otherwise, so everything was fine. Nothing took me out of it, but I just don't remember a whole lot being there, quite frankly.
Yeah, and there is death in the movie. I'm not going to say, how many or who or anything of that nature. And that was a fairly satisfying scene for me. But, aside from that, it is very PG-13. It's not even like trying to push the limits towards an R sort of thing with violence or anything of that nature. It's, as I said earlier, it's like hijinks and mischief and things of that nature from this AI. And I guess that maybe ties in a little bit with how the film wraps itself up. And it's like, I'm a parent or whatever, and asking for acceptance and those themes, which I don't really think it's a spoiler. Maybe it is. I guess I won't say it. That there is an essence of like, you need to accept this because it's not going anywhere sort of thing, which I thought was kind of interesting, because there's a lot of people very averse to AI and they're just like, no, get it out of entertainment, get out of this and that. And I know you've played with stuff here for the show with AI music and art and different things of that nature. So there is there is the whole purist mentality of, it's going to take away jobs from real creatives and whatnot. But I've heard more and more peeps saying if you utilize it as a tool as opposed to a crutch, then it can, really foster creativity. But Who knows? I haven't messed with it, so I can't really speak one way or the other, man. So.
Well, everything's emergent, but yeah, this movie, again, I feel like you guys can skip it. If you want to watch it once it's on a streaming service that you're already paying for, then it's only an hour and 20-minute buy-in, so, you know, it might be worth your time to check it out one time. Again, John Cho and his wife, I don't know why I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Catherine Waterston, yeah. They did a great job, her specifically, and especially, so... If you want good acting, then at least you'll get that from those two. But otherwise, I just don't think the story is worth your time, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely not the theater. Since there wasn't press for this or anything, because they knew what they had on their hands, you know. Yeah. So if I hadn't used my A-list for it, I would definitely be upset. But yeah. If it pops up on like a Paramount Plus or some other thing, and you've got, because it's only 80 minutes to spare, and you don't have anything else, that you're you're scrolling to watch something, I'd say maybe give it a shot if the subject interests you, but otherwise, this is a skip it. So. Yeah,
if you want a silly, over the top, AI slasher house romp, check out Margot on Paramount Plus. That one might be worth your time, and it's at home right now. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's gonna do it for our thoughts on AfrAId. If you've seen it, let us know what your thoughts are in those comments down below. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias, I've been Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.